After getting a bit lazy over summer and a few little trips, I figured it's probably time to start building my shelving. So I figured the best place to start is probably just rip these shelves out, get rid of the cage, and give myself a bit of a blank canvas to start working in. So here we go. All right, with most of the stuff out of the way, finally remove these ugly shelves. And boom, just like that, this place is a little bit more spacious. So I've gone ahead and taped out the area that it's gonna sit in. And now for the bottom plate, I'm gonna have to notch around whatever that bump is. So what I'm gonna do is just cut the full length of the piece, and then I'll create a little template to find how I'm gonna notch it out. So I have the majority of my pieces cut now, and unfortunately I've had to change the plan a little bit, because where I was originally going to have 2 drawers, I was only left with about 80 mil with how everything else has worked out. So I've just extended the bottom drawer up a bit, and I'm going to focus more on the sliding bit and make it more of a feature. So I've gone ahead and disconnected my battery box from the starter battery and everything else, just so I can get that main piece up here. And then I'm gonna have to trace up around that curve and begin notching out. So I have my end panel here, and I'm thinking, because those 2 wires are already, see the red one's already been connected up to here, and the black one's already going into my solar controller, I think it's going to be easier for me just to notch around it and then slide that in and leave that as a cavity. Probably me being a little bit lazy, but I don't think that's going to impact the structural integrity of the actual cabinet. And I think that's going to save me a bit of time and effort. So using my multi-tool, I'm just going to quickly buzz that open and create that little slot so it can slide all the way back. So my way of notching out around the weird corners and stuff in the van is I've gone out and bought a little compass, which has a point on one end and a pencil on the other. So I hold the point against the weird end, and I'll just follow the contour all the way up until I get my line there. And now using the multi-tool isn't the cleanest cut, so once I've got it pretty accurate, I'll just run it over with some sandpaper, smooth it out. So here I have almost all of my pieces notched out. Now the good news is I've just chucked a piece behind it for now to see if it's straight, and magically they all look like they line up. So I've left a little bit of room to breathe on it, and I'll try to take the rest of it down with a sander. So this is the point we're up to so far. Now I'm going to take it all apart and try to reassemble it properly at the back. So with the majority of the pieces cut now, I'm just going to hit everything with a quick sand, and then I'll work out how I'm going to join it later. Oh. And I've just realised that I've taken 20 mil out of the wrong piece. That's the base plate, which was the right size. What I needed to take 20 mil out of was the top plate. So back to Bunnings for another piece of timber. That sucks. And that, my friends, is how you waste 60 bucks in wood. Annoying, but could always be worse. So in order to get my joins a little bit more accurate, I've gone out and bought myself a little doweling jig. It basically works by, comes with little packers, and then you clamp the boards down where it needs to go, and this will make sure that your dowels line up perfectly. So one piece sits on top, the other piece sits in between, and that allows you to really quickly set the depth and line your dowels up. So all you have to do is using the guide drill straight in, and as long as you don't pop through the board, you should be fine. So I'll get into that now. So I've just chucked a little bit of tape on the end to make sure I don't go all the way through. That should now allow for some pretty good joints. So I'll continue to do that for all of the corner joints, and then for anything in the center I'm going to be using a biscuit, so I'll show you doing that as well. So I'll be using biscuits to join the rest of the internal ones. So how I've done that is to line up the piece where it's going to sit upright, and then I just need to make a small cut in all the spaces I want it. I've lined it up so it's straight. Then it should hopefully be as simple as chucking the biscuits in and leaving it to glue. So when I chuck these in, if everything's gone well, this should sit how I need it to. Just like that. It's basically Lego for adults, isn't it? And instead of building Star Wars Starfighter, I'm building a cupboard. So play with your blocks, kids, it pays off. So I went away for a little trip in the van just to see how everything was going, and as a result, I've decided to change my cabinets again. So the cooker is going to be sitting up the top here and having it slide out across there. Now, the thing I realized from when I went away was it's really handy to have somewhere around you that you can use a bench to prepare food, have stuff ready to go while this pot's cooking. So what I'm going to be doing here is just above where the battery box is going to sit, I'm going to have a little table that pulls out and can be used as a bench to either prepare food on, store food, and then chuck it in. And I'm also going to try to make a little storage space here, just next to the cooker, that will also pull out the whole way. That should in turn mean that while you're inside the van, if you want to sit on this side and pull it out on your left, or if you're cooking outside the van, have a little storage space there. That means that the cooking should be a little bit easier, a little bit more streamlined, and I won't have to be like storing stuff on the floor and stuff while I'm cooking. So pain in the ass, because it's now a lot more work that I have to do, but I think it'll be worth it. And I'm also thinking that in this space here, I'm gonna make a little cutlery drawer, because that still gives me room above what I need. So just trying to make the most of the space I have, and I think it's just little things that'll make the process a lot easier of actually being in the van. I have the majority of the bodywork done now, so I think the next thing I need to do before I start fixing anything off is cutting this piece here that's going to allow the drawer to slide out, as well as notching out for here for this little cupboard. Just like that. I've got my front plate, so this bit here will hopefully slide out nice. And because I've used the same piece, the lines should be pretty good. I'll just have to sand it a bit and clean it up. And for the little side drawer, I've just gone in 60mm from every edge, and I'll use my multi-tool just to trim it down, cut that out, and then I'll fix up the edges with a sander. So I now have my little side cupboard cut out. It's obviously not the cleanest cut ever, so I'll just have to fix that up with a bit of sandpaper. But I think that's gonna work pretty well. So I've got all my pieces sanded and ready to go together. Now, because I've only got 4 clamps, I'm gonna try to glue it together in sections. So starting off, I'm gonna get the shelf and the 2 main middle pieces on. And my main concern is just gonna be keeping them straight, like 90-degree angles, and then I'll continue on from there.
I know we're over, and I should move forward. I'm just a little nostalgic. I'm 'cause you're not thinking of me. But we
So all the pieces for the main body are now glued together, and I've given everything a little sand around just to smooth it out, make it feel and look a bit nicer. I've also glued together my platform here that's going to slide out to support my cooker. The latest thing I'm working on is the door for the first slot of the cupboard. Just used a biscuit in each of the joins, and I'm now just gluing it together, trying to make sure I got everything square. So in order to get my joins, I've marked halfway between this piece here, and then I'm just going to be chucking one biscuit in, and I'll line them up after, and that should help them stay relatively straight.
know we're over and I should move forward. I'm just a little nostalgic. I know we're over and I should move forward. I'm just a little nostalgic. I'm just a little nostalgic. I know we're over and I should move forward. I'm just a little nostalgic. I know we're over and I should move forward. I'm just a little.
So when I put the clamps on this, it sort of ended up on a bit of an angle. So I've chucked this bottom clamp on the opposing angle just to pull it in square. The majority of the cabinetry is now finished, and one of the last things I have to focus on is going to be the lid. So I've bought a nice new piece of timber, and I'm going to be using that to seal my unit off. So now that I've cut the lid, I've realised that I didn't factor in the end plate, and so it's now 18mm short. So I'm probably going to have to go buy another piece for it, which is a bit of a shame, but it's all good. So in the meantime, I'm just going to try to install the doors and get all the other hardware on, sand everything right back, and then probably hit it with a coat of stain. I basically want to get to the point where everything's ready to go, aside from that lid. And then as soon as the store opens tomorrow, I'll go buy a replacement lid and the last of the hardware that I need to finish this cabinet off. And boom, I've got my first door hung for this side. So now I just need to do the same thing for the other one. So I've jumped ahead and now have nearly all of my little pieces on, including my little flip down lid so I can use the cooker inside. So now just while the glue on the sliding drawer is gonna dry, I'll start working on getting these drawer sliders in. I'm just gonna do them straight down the bottom as low as they can go, and that should allow them to hide in behind there. I'm just gonna go ahead and use my sander to try to neaten that edge up as well. A few days of big work. I worked a full day already today with landscaping, and then I've come home and done this in my afternoon, so definitely time to call it a night. But I love it, hey. It's really cool seeing some progress, so keep going tomorrow. So I've got my lid cut and ready here, and in order to clean up this gap here, I've decided to chuck just a little lip on the edge, and I reckon it will look pretty tidy. Now for this lid, I was considering putting screws in it to hold it together, but I'm gonna try just wood glue for now. All the force of the weight will be down, so I'm hoping the glue's enough to hold it. So the cabinet's now almost finished, and I've set it up ready to be stained. So like this, I will hit it with a coat tonight, and then I'll have to come back and I'll probably do 2 or 3, just depending on how it takes. The stain that I've bought is the same as I used on my bed frame. It is Cabot's Cabothane Clear, and I've got it in a matte, just because personally I think the matte finish looks a little bit nicer than the gloss. So, time to start staining. And just like that, first coat is done. There's just something really nice about the way Oil brings out the natural characteristics in wood. So I've got to let that sit for about 6 hours. By 6 hours, I'm gonna go to bed, so I'll hit it again at 12. I've got pretty much everything done. Here's my little cutlery drawer, and this is the table it's gonna fold out. Now, in order to do the door panels, I've gone out and bought a bit of this cane mesh, which I'm just going to staple to the back there. First step in putting this screen in is to soak it in warm water for half an hour. So I'm gonna do that, set a timer, and then I'll come back and begin working on it. So once that's done soaking, I'll take it out, cut it to the right size, and then we can just staple it in there. All right, it's been half an hour. I flipped it over halfway through. So now my cane should be ready to mark out in front of my cabinet doors and cut the size. Now, the reason we wet it for a while is because it's obviously a bit curved. It just means that it's going to allow it to be a little bit more malleable, and I can play with it a bit easier while I try to install it. The other thing I've heard is that while it dries, it'll obviously, it's warped at the moment. So when it dries, it should tighten up. Now I need to get my measuring tape and work out exactly how much I want to go for the size of the cane. So I'm going to give it about 2 centimeters on either side, just to be safe. So now that I have my measurements, I just need to lay out my cane, mark it, and then it should be as simple as stapling it onto the door. It's now marked out. So in order to cut this, you just got to use some scissors, and it should be pretty easy, to be honest. Right, there we go. Now I just need to hold it flat against and staple it hard. Alright, first door's on. That looks great. Ah, I love it. Alright, door number 2. That sucked. Don't buy cheap shit tools. Get the next model up at least. The cane isn't cheap, but I think that looks so much nicer than just a plain panel. So money well spent. And just like that, my cabinet is all finished. So I've gone ahead and put the pull-out table in there. Around here, I've built myself a little cutlery drawer. Obviously got my pull out for my cooker here, and then my little flap to hide all my electronics. This has been an absolute hell of a job, but it's all done now. So tomorrow morning, I'm gonna put it in my car, and I'm looking forward to it. So here's how the cabinet looks, fully installed in the van. Now, as of today, I'm also working on my second unit, and there's a video coming for that. But for now, let's just focus on the main cabinet I've built in this video. So I just wanted to quickly show you all the little parts that pull out and how that looks operating inside the space. So first things first, obviously got the pull-out cooker there. And that works, it's a really nice height for me to be operating while it's in the van. Or that other function that I thought was important was the ability to cook inside in case of a rainy day. So we've got this little flap here that pulls down, and that gives full access to the cooker while inside sitting on the bed. Now, something cool that's worked out that I didn't plan for is my pots and pans stow away under the second cupboard absolutely perfect, which is handy because they're safely tucked away under there. I don't have to worry about them breaking at all. And it packs away nice and neatly like that. I've left just the right gap on there so that can operate freely without hitting my other cupboard. Now, the little cupboard down here does quite a nice job of hiding my electrical setup, but also when opened, presents everything I need to see really easily and quickly. I've got easy access to see how my solar controller is doing, my isolator, that's for my lighting setup, and this will house the rest of my electronics. Under this section here, got my battery box. I also put some little covers there, painted it black on that side, just to protect the screen a little bit more. So this side here, we've got my battery box, and I want to show you just how cleanly this opens up for this table here. Look at that. Man, if it was any closer, it wouldn't come out. But this is what I was talking about as far as cooking goes. I can have one more surface to be preparing things on and just open the space up a little bit more. Now on this side, we've got a space to house my vacuum. That was something for me that I thought is a really valuable piece of equipment to quickly blow stuff down and keep the space tidy. So that was always coming in. I designed that space to house that especially. I've got my cutlery drawer here. Just closes up neatly, and then I'll have access to some other stuff down there for storage. I think that's everything worth saying about my little cabinetry in here. Honestly, this is probably the thing in my van build that I'm most proud of. The whole unit was completely my own design. I just built based on the functions that I personally wanted to have out of my storage. I'm very proud of how this one turned out, and I hope that you guys found this video enjoyable and maybe even inspired you to build something similar in your van space. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving it a like, as well as a comment to tell me what you thought was good, bad, or something you'd change about my setup. I really appreciate all the support I'm getting on this channel for my van build, so thanks and have a good day.